Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the White Lightning Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Wheeler. I'm joined by no one else today. It's just me. And I really want to talk about the conclusion of the NBA Finals. I had no one to join me, so I will do it myself. I wanted to really just kind of get on here by myself, to be honest, and kind of just give you a little bit of a rant and what I took away from the NBA Finals. It'll be no game recap from game 3 or game 4. I'm just going to give you a recap of the entire series and what I took from it. First off, a very entertaining series. I was right. I called Denver in 5 and it happened. And I just have a lot of things I'm ready to talk about and I'm really excited. So first off, I want to say congratulations to the Denver Nuggets, the 2023 NBA champions, and they deserved it. And NBA is a beautiful sport because it's a 7-game series in the playoffs. So the team that wins the 7-game series deserves it. And, you know, they deserve it cutting through. This ain't March Madness. This ain't the NFL playoffs where you can maybe get hot at the right time or, you know, some shots go your way or some passes go your way. No, in the NBA Finals, you have to do it 4 times. In the NBA playoffs, you have to do it 4 times. And Denver did. And they deserved it cut and dry. They were the more talented team. They were bigger, they were stronger, they were tougher, they were more prepared. A funny thing I like to say is, how many guys do you have that can go out and get you 20 points? They had more of those guys. You know, Bruce Brown gave him 20, Aaron Gordon gave him 21 game, Jokic gave him 20 every game, Murray gave him 20 every game. So, you know, again, like what I said, they're bigger, they were stronger, they were more talented, and they were more prepared. And most importantly, they were the best built team in basketball, and their roster construction was beautiful. And he kind of wanted me to get into a point that the super team is dead. It's extinct. You know, we saw in the past with the Cavs teams of the 2016 and the Warriors teams of 2017. That's what I really call a super team. Is you could kind of get away with not having a good bench, not having good role players, not playing that good a defense. It was how many stars you have, how many shots can you make, how many threes can you make. You actually have to build a team up and down. You have to be well coached. You have to have good defense. You have to have a good bench. You have to have good three-point shooting. The Nuggets checked all those boxes. Mike Malone is an outstanding coach. I think Spoelstra is better than Mike Malone, but I truly think that Mike Malone's probably a top 5 coach in basketball. The only coaches I could probably off the top of my head take over him are Spoelstra, Kerr, and Popovich. Other than that, it's kind of splitting hairs. Maybe Tyronn Lue, you know, but really, truly, he is a top 5 coach in basketball, and he had them prepared and ready to play. And most importantly, along with the bench, the shooting, the role players, the defense. In order to win an NBA Finals, you have to have a star. And the Nuggets had a luxury that no other team in the NBA can say. The Nuggets had the best player in basketball and the best player on the planet, and that is Nikola Jokic. It took me some time, actually, to come to this conclusion. You know, at first, I thought Embiid should win the MVP. I was kind of a Jokic hater. I just didn't know if he could, you know, really step up when it mattered most. He did. That's an understatement. This is the first time in playoffs history where we saw a player lead the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. The entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. We might never see something like that ever again. And he was not only the best player on the planet for the past 4 months, I don't think it's particularly close as it stands right now. He also had the most triple doubles in a playoffs of anybody in history. And again, it's an incredible accomplishment. He's the best scorer in basketball right now. He's the best passer in basketball right now. He's probably the best rebounder in basketball right now. Oh, and by the way, he's a great passer. He's 7 foot. He's a solid 3-point shooter. He shoots around 35, 40%. He's 7 foot. This is a player that is generational, is already a top 25 player of all time for me. And on Monday night, he capped that with a ring and a finals MVP. And I think we can really now have a discussion about him with the all-time greats. I really, truly, truly feel that way. Oh, and by the way, he's only 29, 28 or 29, I believe. So he's going to be around for a long time, like this team. The Nuggets deserved it. Another guy that isn't Jokic but played a huge part in this series is Jamal Murray. The Nuggets also have a luxury of maybe having the best duo in the entire league. And it shows the importance of Jamal Murray and the importance of a good guard. Jamal Murray posted the highest net rating out of anyone this entire series, and I believe had the highest net rating in the entire playoffs. He averaged 22 points per game this series, 38% from three and 45% from the field. That's nicely done. He was a huge part for them this entire series. He was a huge part for them against the Lakers. And again, it proves once again, he is a prime example of where the league is going. You have to have a very good point guard. You have to have three-point shooting. You have to have a guy outside of your star that can get you 20 points. That was Jamal Murray. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip here. I'm ranting a little bit. But again, like I stated earlier, the Nuggets had more guys that can get you 20 points per game. They can take over a game. And, you know, the Nuggets deserved it well and through. They deserved all of it. They deserved everything that came to them. You know, it's funny, Colin Cowherd said this point, is that I love the direction that the NBA is going because every piece matters. Like when Aaron Gordon is in foul trouble, everybody's like, ooh, like that's a big, you know, that's a big dent. That's a big loss if he's in foul trouble. Bruce Brown, if he's off, we're talking about a guy that was the seventh man for the Nets last year. If he was off shooting, you're like, you're missing a big chunk of offense from him. That's the beauty of the game, and that's the beauty of the direction of the NBA. You have to build a lineup. You have to build, you know, a full team. You can't have any holes. And again, the Nuggets deserved everything that came to them, and I want to say congratulations to them. But the Nuggets were able to win for a couple reasons, and I want to direct this to the Heat now. The Miami Heat had a chance. They had a chance. And most importantly, I said for the last couple of weeks, Miami is the best team in basketball of taking advantage when the opponent doesn't play well. That's their MO. That's what defines them. They are the best team in basketball of taking advantage when the opponent is either hurt or not playing well. And that's why they've made it this far. Milwaukee, you get a banged up Giannis for a couple games and they're not shooting that well. You win that series. Knicks, Julius Randle isn't playing well. You take advantage of that. Same with the Celtics. They're not playing well. Tatum's a little banged up in game 7. You take advantage of it. They completely, this series, did not do what they're best at, and that was taking advantage of their opponent. They had two really, really, really key parts of this series that could change the entire direction of the series. In game 4, it's a 5-point game. Jokic is in foul trouble. Here is your chance. Tie it 2-2. Go back to Denver. You couldn't do it. Game 5 in Denver. Denver shoots 1 for 15 from three-pointer in the first half. You're only up by 6. You did not take advantage of what you do best. You did not take advantage of the opponent when they were playing bad. And some really big stats that I thought were completely bizarre to me were this. Why did you not take advantage this series of the Nuggets? It was a lot of guys that did not step up for you. Big time. Big time. Caleb Martin, you're 19 points per game in the Eastern Conference Finals, and who I thought was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, goes from 19 points to 7. Gabe Vincent went from 15 to 11. Max Strus went from 9 to 5. And Duncan Robinson went from 11 to 7. That's 23 less points per game. Those guys did not show up for you. And I want to talk about the Nuggets here real quick. I can maybe argue that the Nuggets, out of every round of the playoffs, played probably the worst they have this entire playoffs. Now, hear me out. In the Western Conference Finals, they were putting up 118 points per game. They put up 104 in the finals. Michael Porter Jr. went from averaging 15 to 9. Jamal Murray, again, who had a great series, went from 32 to 21. KCP went from 14 to 7. That's 24 points less combined out of those three guys. Michael Porter Jr., KCP, and Jamal Murray. And they shot 40% in the Western Conference Finals to 33 in the finals. So now I just showed you that the Miami players didn't step up and didn't take advantage of the Nuggets, who I thought that they did not have their best series. And just a couple more incredible stats that really signifies why Miami lost this series. Well, first off, I just told you, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, and Duncan Robinson combined for 23 less points per game than they did in the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 5 with the series on the line, Max Strus shoots 2 for 7 in the second half. Kevin Love Kyle Lowry shoots 2 for 7. Gabe Vincent shoots 3 for 8 in the second half. Bam shoots 1 for 7 in the second half. There it is. There it is for you for the taking. The Nuggets just shot the worst three-point percentage in the first half in finals history. And what do you do in the second half? You come out flat from your 4 big guys. This is an insane stat to me. Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Max Strus was their 4th highest leading scorer in the regular season. And Gabe Vincent averaged 19 points per game before this series. Gabe and Max Strus in the last 3 games shot 12 for 52. 23% from the field. And from 3, they shot 3 for 27, 11%. And in game 5, with the series on the line, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin shoot 1 for 15 from 3. And that's the series right there. The Miami Heat in the fourth quarter of a game 5, when the series could be closed out, have 18 points in the fourth quarter. 18 points. And everybody else that's not named Jimmy Butler chipped in for 5 points. So my main conclusion for the Heat and my main conclusion for the Nuggets is that I do not think the Nuggets had their best series. I told you they had 112 Let me restart. The Nuggets did not have their best series. They went from averaging 118 points in the Western Conference Finals to 104. The trio of Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and KCP combined for 24 less points than they did. And you guys couldn't capitalize. And that was the Heat's MO, is that you guys capitalized when the opponent was playing bad. You didn't. You played worse. You played worse than you did in the Eastern Conference Finals. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson all did less. And a big X factor that was a no-show for you guys was Caleb Martin was one of the main reasons that you beat the Boston Celtics. He was a no-show in the finals. Now, I will say this, that the Nuggets probably shot less because Miami was the best defensive team they played. And caps off to Miami for playing great defense. But Miami, here's your chance now to capitalize on your great defense and get buckets. And you didn't. And in this series, you went back to the regular season Miami, where you averaged 94 points per game in the finals. You didn't score well in the regular season. You were 27th in the scoring. You didn't shoot well from 3. You didn't shoot well from 3 in the regular season. And ultimately, you lacked talent. You lacked talent in the finals, and you lacked talent in the regular season. But most importantly, I have a question that I was really excited to talk about. Really excited to talk about. And I ask my audience this question. Is Jimmy Butler a superstar? Because if he is, he should be ashamed of himself. He had a horrible series, and he let his team down. If he's a superstar, and you think he's a superstar, he had a horrible series, he let his team down, and he should be ashamed of himself. Why, you ask? Because in the Milwaukee series 3 weeks ago, he averages 37 points per game. Then goes in the finals and averages 21. That's 16 less points. And in game 4, at home, with the season on the line, 2-1, in the last 6 minutes of the game, Jokic has 5 fouls, and Jokic is in foul trouble. He's out for the majority of the fourth quarter, and with 6 minutes left in the game, it's a 5-point game. In the last 6 minutes of game 4, Jimmy Butler has 0 points. And in game 5, a closeout game to prevent Denver from winning the ring, Jimmy Butler does not have a made field goal until the start of the second quarter. And going into the fourth quarter, he has 8 points. And luckily for 6 free throws in the fourth quarter, a 3 and a layup, he finishes with 21. Okay, so there it is right there. Game 4, you had a chance. 6 minutes left, 5-point game. You don't have a single point. Game 5, you underperform. And if he's a superstar, I want you to keep that same energy that 3 weeks ago when Jay Williams got on ESPN and said that he's harder to guard right now than LeBron and Giannis. When Nick Wright has him in the superstar club. Let LeBron, let Giannis, let KD, let Embiid do what Jimmy Butler just did. For a week, you would hear about how he underachieved and let his team down. But since it's Jimmy Butler, it's, oh, he got tired. He just ran out of talent. He can only do so much. Let any other superstar do what Jimmy Butler just did, and they would have gotten slandered all week. But Jimmy Butler is your boy. He's Himmy Buckets. He has his own coffin. He looks cool. So you can just say, oh, well, he ran out of gas. Why can't we treat him fairly? If he's a superstar, why can't you treat everybody else fairly in the same class that he is? Because if he is a superstar, 16 points per game less than you did 4 weeks ago against Milwaukee is inexcusable, and you should be ashamed of yourself. In the first 12 games of the playoffs, he averages 31 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He averages 59% from the field and 44% from three. The last 10 games, he averages 21, 4, and 6. He's 36% from three and 41% from the field. And I'll say this again. If you think Jimmy Butler is a superstar, treat him as such. Don't let him just go under the rug that he was tired. He had no talent. He ran out of gas. Because if he's a superstar, he's in that class with LeBron, KD, Giannis, Embiid, and they would have gotten slandered if they did in the finals what Jimmy Butler just did. 16 less points per game. The announcers, everybody's watching the game saying, where is Jimmy Butler? There is long stretches where he is not seen on the court. And again, I bring up the 2 points. In game 4, 6 minutes left, 5-point game, you have 0 points in that time span. Game 5, closeout game, prevent Denver from winning the series. You have 8 points going into the fourth quarter. And I can even argue this. If he's a superstar, I think we just watched Bam Adebayo, who I gave a lot of crap, outplay him this series. Bam Adebayo averaged more points, more rebounds, shot better from the field, and probably played better defense than Jimmy Butler did this series. For your superstar, Jimmy Buckets, keep that same energy. And I love how, too, I thought this was a hilarious point, is Nick Wright got on First Things First and compared Jimmy Butler's finals. They did a blank face. And they compared him to Steph Curry's 2016 final stats, saying, oh, these guys were pretty similar stats. Oh, you're talking about the Steph Curry in 2016 who had the worst meltdown in finals history, and he can still not let that down, and it happened 7 years ago? Okay. But when Jimmy Butler does it, it's because he ran out of gas. He's tired. He's ran out of talent. If you think he's a superstar, hold him to the same standard that you just did everybody else. Because he underperformed. He played the worst he did all playoffs, 16 less points per game than he did in round 1, and every series he got progressively worse. Now, if you don't think he's a superstar, and I don't, if you think he's a 2 option, and if you think he just overachieved, then he needs a number 1. And that number 1 is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard actually mentioned last week that if he were to get traded, his destinations that he would want to go to is Miami and Brooklyn. Perfect. He wants to go Miami. I know we keep on bringing Dame up. It's funny because it's like he's every team's solution, right? Like he's Boston's solution. He's Miami's solution. He could be Philly's solution, right? But now he actually gave a couple teams that he would like if he joined. If I'm the Heat, I do whatever it takes to get Damian Lillard. You have the guys for it. You can offer Hero. I think Hero has a lot of value around the league. And you just saw that you made it to the finals and he didn't play 2 games. And you're saying, okay, we could maybe do this without him. You can give them an expiring contract in Kyle Lowry. Djokovic, ironically enough, is their bench piece for them. and is an emerging guy. And Caleb Martin is a young dude that I'm sure they would love to have. You also have 3 first-round picks. Again, I think whatever you should do, you should get Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's an alpha. He wants to take the last shot. He wants to be the leader. And I actually think it now forces Bam to kind of like go to that 3 role. And I think that's who he is. I think he's a 3 option on a finals team. You now can give him the luxury to do that. And my point for the Miami Heat to do this trade is that in the last 2 finals in 2020 and 2023, you ran out of talent. Let's not make running out of talent an excuse again. And obviously, ironically enough, it's okay to sacrifice some bench or some depth because you guys are obviously good at producing talent because you guys had the most undrafted players in a playoff series in NBA history. So you can obviously develop talent. Go do what you do best. This offseason, go get 2-3 guys that are undrafted. Try to work and progress into getting you some quality minutes and give up guys for Dame. Because we see what happens with this team when you let Jimmy Butler lead the charge, you let Bam be a 2 option, and you kind of just fill out the rest of the team with role players. You just run out of talent. It's a talent league. Don't let a talent excuse be your excuse ever again. This is a golden moment. You have the pieces. Damian Lillard wants to be in Miami, and I say go get Dame. And I want to kind of go back to Jimmy Butler a little bit here. Jimmy Butler had a good playoffs. He did. He overachieved. He had a great run. But don't get up here today and tell me that, he didn't have a horrible finals and he didn't underplay and he let them down. Don't say that to me because he did. He did let them down. And when Miami needed him the most, he was gone. Okay, so again, I'll say this again. Jimmy Butler behind Jokic probably had the best playoff series out of anybody in the playoffs. I will admit that, okay? But again, do not tell me that a guy that averaged 16 points per game less, and in game 4, in the final closing seconds of the game, in the minutes, you can't find him, and in game 5, he has 8 points going into the 4th quarter. Do not tell me that he just had this great run and he ran out of gas. Don't do that to me, because if you truly think he's a superstar, then that shouldn't be an excuse. So, that is my point with the Heat, is that I think you obviously have to go get Damian Lillard. Do not let talent be an issue for you anymore. Go get your first option and go compete. Because I think you just can't do this cycle anymore with the Heat where you just keep on, running out of talent. You're missing that alpha. Let Dame be your alpha. For Denver, I say just stay put. It's funny, the excuse that Denver always made, and Mike Malone and Jokic and Murray, they always said that we'd probably win the finals, but we weren't healthy. Now they were healthy and they won. And I think that's a main key for this team this offseason and for next year is remain healthy. Because if you guys can do that, you guys could have a very real chance at repeating. Also, I think a big thing for them this offseason is get a backup center. DeAndre Jordan, who's in the twilight of his career, played pretty key minutes at the end of the game for you guys. Don't let that be a thing. He's a great culture guy. He's a good system guy, and I'm cool with that. But you need a backup center that if Jokic gets in foul trouble, like what we saw game 4, it's not complete catastrophe. Get a functional backup center that can provide you good minutes. But yeah, I mean that's that. Again, I'm going to say this. The offseason is going to be really, really fun. Really fun for the NBA. I'm really excited to talk about it because we're already hearing news 2 days after the finals is over about, packages that the Mavs could include, the 10th overall pick and Tim Hardaway. News broke today that Shams reported that Bradley Beal and the Wizards are going to try to look for a trade destination. Damian Lillard could be a name that you could see. Shams and Brian Windhorst reported that Zion Williamson could potentially be dangled. So this offseason is going to be fun. And again, like what I've been telling you guys for the past couple of weeks, is that this new CBA is going to really, really, really make things interesting. And teams are going to want to get the rosters that they always wanted to form, but they didn't really know if they should or not. They're going to have to do it now because this new CBA really restricts roster building, at least for a year or two until the GMs and the owners can figure out how to work around it. So this offseason is going to be super, super freaking interesting. Super interesting. And I am really excited to see it unfold. It's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a quick episode. I'm by myself today. I talked about everything I want to talk about. And I would say my closing thoughts are this. I would say, one, Denver deserved this series well and through. Shout out to Bruce Brown, 21 points in game 4. That was incredible. He stepped up big. Aaron Gordon had 27 in game 4. That was huge. Jokic did not score a point since the 9:20 mark of the fourth quarter, and they won. Think about that. You deserve it right there. 2, the Heat have to add more talent. The Heat have to add more talent. Enough of making an excuse. Go get your Damian Lillard. Go compete. Go get you a ring. Do not make running out of talent an issue anymore. You have a perfect scenario this offseason to go get Damian Lillard. A real alpha, a real number one. You get a guy younger than Lowry. Let's not run out a 37-year-old point guard again. Get you an alpha and see what happens. And 3, Jimmy Butler had a horrible finals. He let his team down. He should be ashamed of himself. Okay? Because if he's a superstar, averaging 16 points per game less than you did round 1, not having a point in the final minutes of game 4, and having 8 points going into game 5's fourth quarter is inexcusable. But if you don't think he's a superstar and he's a number 2, recite back to my second closing point of go get your guy, go get Damian Lillard. So, wow. Okay. That was good. That was good. Tomorrow, I plan on doing an NFL episode again. I'm going to bring on a couple of my friends, a very close family of mine, the Petersons. I'm going to bring on about 3 of them. It's going to be a 4-person podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA. We're going to talk about the majority about the NFL. And I'm really excited to talk about that. And I'm really excited to get into the NBA offseason. I plan on doing a Cavs episode because they have some interesting questions to answer this offseason. What do you do with Donovan Mitchell? What do you do with your team? I want to talk about their epic meltdown because it was a meltdown. So that was episode 13 of the White Lightning podcast. I'm your host, Ben Wheeler. Enjoy your Wednesday night. Enjoy your day.